I've talked about how I spent some time in the music business. It was the early 80s to the early 90s. It was in Minneapolis. I had a recording studio, kitty corner from First Avenue. It was about the time that Prince blew up, and it was fucking crazy in this town. I also told you about an artist that came to me that wanted us to represent him. Very talented kid. His name is Jerry. He had been in the group The Time. He was in the movie Purple Rain. He also was in the band Jesse Johnson's Review, and now he was on his own trying to find his own path. Now, this kid was very talented. He could play every instrument, sing every part, write songs, produce songs, very similar to Prince, maybe not quite at that level. And besides that, he didn't have the charisma or really the look. So we had been trying to get him some kind of artist deals, and just wasn't working. What we were able to procure for him is a publishing deal, a pretty sizable publishing deal. Now, with publishing, what happens, this kid will write and produce songs, turn them into the publishing company, and then they try to give them to other artists to sing and produce and hopefully make money that way. So we're in the process. My artist is writing a bunch of songs. He was very prolific. He could write 5 songs in a day. Not all perfect, but a lot of them very good. So he's turning them in. One day I get the president of the publishing company, Dale. Now remember, this publishing company is owned by Michael Jackson. I've got the contracts with his name on it, so if you want to call me out on it, I got receipts. Michael Jackson bought this publishing company when he bought all of the Beatles publishing. Anyway, Dale calls me up and he says, "Look, Mike, I got some good news. We've got 2 acts, one single artist and one group that want to do Jerry's song." I said, "Cool. 2 projects. Awesome." He said, No, they both want the same song. So we have to choose which one will get the song." I said, "Well, who are they?" He said, "The first one was kind of a journeyman musician, meaning he'd been around for a while, maybe put out an album, but never went over the top. He's just kind of hanging there in the middle. And the other, well, it's just a bunch of kids coming out with their first album." So he says, "We have to decide which one we're going to let do the song." And he's asking me. So I said, "Well, I'll go back and talk to my brother and Jerry, and we'll decide who should get the song." Well, after we all talked, it was pretty clear that we wanted the young kids with their first album to produce the song. It was a gamble, but that's what this fucking business is about. So I go back and I talked to Dale, the president of the publishing company. I said, "We decided the young kids." And he goes, "No, I don't think that's a good idea. We got a lot of money in this, it's kind of a risk. We'd rather take the safe route and go with the journeyman artist." I said, "Nah, we want to go with the young kids." He said, "Well, let me get back to you in a couple of days and we'll make the final decision." So he comes back in a couple of days. He says, "We're going with the journeyman artist." I said, "So you weren't really asking me because you gave a fuck about what we wanted. You were just trying to get us to agree with you. You were trying to sell us on that." And he was honest. He said, "Yeah, pretty much." He says, "We got the money. We've got the experience in this business. We're making the decision." So the song is then given to this journeyman artist. Time's going by. We aren't hearing much about it. And then after about a month, I called them up and said, "What the fuck is going on?" And Dale says, "Yeah, I forgot to call you. They've apparently put this artist on the shelf, meaning they're not going to deal with him for a while. So the song is on the shelf." Well, that's disappointing. We were upset about it. But the real disappointment didn't come till about 3 weeks later. See, that young group that was doing their first album released their album in a few weeks after that. That group happened to be Color Me Badd, and their first album was multi-fucking platinum. Now, if Jerry's song had been on that record, that album, the trajectory of his career would have gone skyrocketing. And even if his song wouldn't have been a single, he probably would have made hundreds of thousands of dollars. See, that's the thing about the music business. Anything you do could change everything dramatically. If that publishing company would have listened to us, and we didn't know what we were talking about, we just thought that was the best option. This writer, Jerry, would have gone on a very fast trajectory and made a ton of money, not only for him, but for the publishing company. But the publishing company decided to take the easy fucking route. And they fucked up.